Welcome back to Couch Convos, and we are with Natasha today.
Hi, my name is Natasha. I am a clinical psychologist in the UK and a clinical social worker and a psychotherapist in Ontario, Canada. So I work at the NHS and I also run my own private practice back in Canada.
How did you get into clinical psychology and all of that?
I think mental health is such a big taboo and there is a lot of stigma associated with it in the South Asian community. I really wanted to spread that awareness and really integrate culture and religious values into Western psychology as well. It's really important to kind of understand some of the triggers, some of the intergenerational trauma that a lot of people might be experiencing. I also work with couples as well, and just kind of understanding in terms of some of the struggles that they might be experiencing. A lot of times, you know, we have our own patterns and certain way of thinking that we're brought up with, and then how sometimes that might impact your adult relationships. So that's like, in a nutshell, that's what I do.
No, nice. For us women, there is a bit of a rush with getting married, you know. They feel like when you hit a certain age, you have to be married, you have to have it all figured out. But you know, we all don't. Sometimes you go to uni, you focus on your career, and love is sometimes the last thing. And you know how life is, things don't work out, right? So what kind of advice would you give to, you know, people that do feel under pressure, that are going through family pressure to get married and you know, things like that?
I think that's such an important point to reflect on before approaching dating, and I think it's for men and women, but most of the times it is for women in our culture. This pressure or timeline to get married by 25. After 25 you're expired, you can't get married, nobody's gonna marry you. I think it's really important to, you don't have to have a timeline that your parents had or your friends have. I think your timeline can be different. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you want to follow your dreams and goals and that's the life that you want, and maybe relationship or marriage is not one of your priorities, that's completely okay. And at the same time, I think our society and culture also makes us feel ashamed that, you know, oh, you're still single, when are you getting married, when are you next? I think all of that adds so much pressure, and then we rush into getting to know someone who might not be the right person for you, who we didn't get enough time to get to know them. And that can cause a lot of problems.
And ultimately, like, settling just for the sake of it.
Settling for the sake of getting married because I have to get married before the age of 30 and I have to have kids by the age of 35 because my biological clock is clicking. And all of that pressure can really have an impact on your self-esteem as well as a woman. And especially online dating with this rejection culture and ghosting, that can really kind of force you even more to get settled. And settling, I don't know, I have my own views about settling. It's not healthy. Because if you're settling, you're really doing it for the culture. And in Urdu we say log kya kahenge, which means like, what are people gonna say? You're basically doing it for them, and that's not healthy. It's more for you. It's your journey with your partner, and it's really important to really get to know them.
Islamically, it's just when it's your time, right?
Yes.
So when it's, you know, the perfect one is for you, it will come. I mean, I personally would say just forget what people think.
Yes.
Our parents are a lot more supportive now and understanding. You know, it wasn't like in our parents' generation where, you know, it is like get married ASAP and stuff. Things have changed a lot.
Exactly.
You know?
Parents can be supportive. My parents have been really supportive of my dreams and goals, and they've never forced me, okay, you need to get married. Just know that it will be okay, and that if your time comes and when your time comes, and Islamically as well, when you're whatever your destiny is like written, it will happen. And I think Islamically as well, I'm not an Islamic scholar, but we have the right to know our partner before getting married. And that can take 3 months, that can take 6 months, however long, as long as it's halal. You want to know your partner. Otherwise it can just, you're repeating the intergenerational traumas again and again, and it's really important to break that cycle.
1 in 3 people are now meeting online, and you don't really know a person right online, you only know a bit about them. So what would you kind of say are like red flags?
before even approaching dating online, especially nowadays, it's really, really important to first ask yourself, what are my non-negotiables? What are my values? And then based on that, what am I willing to kind of compromise or tolerate? So some of the red flags might be that, you know, someone is talking to you and they really are not making an effort to kind of meet you face to face. Someone is gaslighting you. So let's say if you are setting boundaries, for example, halal dating, and you prefer halal dating, and the other person is like, no, like that's not going to work for me, and then you kind of give in. That's kind of gaslighting. So then they make you the problem rather than kind of looking at the problem in itself or what they might be doing. Love bombing, which is another red flag.
What is love bombing?
Yeah, love bombing is when people are excessively showing their love. I blame Bollywood movies when they're showing excessive love and kind of excessive gestures.
What if they have like good intentions behind it, or if someone love bombing, is that like a bad thing? Like,
yeah, that's a really good question. What's the difference between them, like how you having good intentions and then you wanting to love bomb? I think culturally as well, some cultures, they're very expressive. They might do kind of like grand gestures to kind of show that I really care about you and I really want to move things forward. I think it's really important to kind of notice and observe their actions as well, whether some of the things that they're saying, are they actually doing outside of that love bombing, or is it just words? Because a lot of people can say a lot of nice things and the things that you would like to hear, especially early on in the relationship. And then later on, that might be completely different once the honeymoon phase is over.
A very interesting word I saw on your Instagram page was the word breadcrumbing. So tell us a bit about what is breadcrumbing.
Breadcrumbing is like, for example, Gemma, I'm a guy, I'm dating you, and I have your interests. So I know that, okay, you really like me, but I'm gonna go and do my thing, and then I'm gonna come back to you whenever I want to. So kind of like that hot and cold kind of communication, which is not healthy. It's not consistent. And then the other person is just craving that attention every time when the person comes back, and they get all excited and then they leave. And what happens is that the person who's waiting, if they have anxious attachment, they're really gonna be worried.
And then doubt themselves.
They're gonna be doubting, what did I do wrong? Why isn't this person talking to me as often? And that is not healthy. That's not healthy communication.
No, I didn't know that until I saw it on your Instagram.
A lot of people don't know what a healthy relationship might look like. And kind of that intergenerational trauma as well, if we have seen a lot of kind of toxic marriages around us. So sometimes we might get stuck in those toxic relationships because that's what feels familiar. It can be very, very helpful to kind of just do your own research, or just even like kind of understanding what are the things that are making me feel uncomfortable. And then what am I looking for then? So for example, let's say open communication, really important. A lot of times when people don't communicate what they want in a relationship, what are their values, and what they're not going to tolerate, it can be really difficult for the other person to know then that they might be violating some of the boundaries. If people are not respecting your boundaries, I think that's a huge red flag.
So when you are looking for love, how do you know that the person is serious? Like, okay, you know what, this person wants to, you know, marry me and is all in. Like, how do you know that?
I think it's really important when they're communicating their intentions, their values, and also they are open to be vulnerable. A lot of times, you know, it's surface level talk. How's your day going? How's your weekend? And people don't go past that stage, and it just becomes more of a texting and calling thing rather than let's meet in person, let's actually get to know each other. So if you are looking for someone and you want to fall in love and find your soulmate, I think it's really important to first know what kind of qualities are you looking for in your partner? What kind of values are you looking for in your partner? A lot of times when I see couples, the conflict is because of their differences in values. Differences in values when it comes to religion, parenting, finances. I think a lot of times couples don't ask the right questions. And it's really important to ask the right questions to get to know them.
What would you say are some of the right questions?
Yes. So, for example, what's your perspective about, let's say, cheating? What do you consider cheating? What are your religious values? And let's say a person saying, I'm praying 5 times a day. Okay, great. Now I know a bit more about you. And what would you want from your partner? How can she support you in those religious practices? What are your expectations of your partner when it comes to religious practices? And I think that when I work with couples, sometimes they're so far apart, and that causes a lot of problems, because then it causes problems in the future for parenting as well. And yeah, so it's really important to ask him those questions.
And obviously, you know, sometimes it's life, but we deal with rejection. Like we get rejected. Sometimes the guy we like doesn't like us back. How do you deal with it? Like, how do you deal with rejection in a positive light and not to doubt yourself as much? Because we do, right? I mean, especially as females.
Yes,
we do.
Yeah, definitely. I think rejection has become such a norm, especially on online dating, unfortunately. Like, people can ghost you, people don't communicate, and then they unmatch you, block you. I think it's really important to know who you are as a person and what you bring to the relationship. It's important to do your own healing work as well while you're looking for a relationship. A lot of people say that, oh no, you know what, maybe it's not the time to look for a partner, do your own healing, go to therapy. I think you can do both. And healing is an ongoing journey. So it's really important to kind of just know who you are, what you bring to the table. And rejection is more about maybe it didn't work out. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise, right? Maybe you were not the right person for them, or they were not the right person for you.
Yeah.
It's better to be rejected now than 10 years from now when you have like 5 kids or 3 kids, and then you're dealing with all of these kind of conflicts.
What would you kind of say is kind of the most common problem in marriages nowadays?
Communication and people having busy lives. Yes.
So what, not making time for each other?
Not making time for each other, not spending quality time. And let's say, for example, if one partner's love language is quality time and the other partner is too busy and not being able to provide that, it can cause a lot of problems in a relationship.
How do you kind of tell them to kind of overcome it? Is it like compromising each other's love language, or?
Yeah, I think it's really important to know what your partner's love languages are, first of all. A lot of times we don't ask those questions because sometimes we're not even aware of what love languages are.
True, yeah.
And then also sharing your love language. Sometimes, you know, you might want to buy gifts for your partner, and then your partner is like, I don't want gifts, I want quality time. So I think it's really important. Maybe your love language is gift, but their love language is quality time. So just kind of expressing love in the way they want to receive. I do this activity with my couples where I create 2 jars, and then the husband will put all like activities that he wants to do, and then the other wife will put all her activities, and then we just take turns. So okay, what maybe this weekend you can do something that your husband wants to do, and you pick a random thing from the jar. Doesn't matter if you like it or not like it, but you're trying to explore and you're trying to learn about your partner, and that's quality time. And it's playful as well in a relationship, and you need that spark. When kids are in the picture, I think it really impacts your marital relationship.
They tend to forget about each other.
They do, yes. So it's really important to schedule some dates. And maybe a weekly check-in as well, like how's everything going? A lot of times when we keep everything to ourselves and we're not communicating, your partner is not a mind reader. And it's really, really important to have those check-ins just to see how things are going. And yeah, just start doing what even like got you guys together in the first place, what you liked about each other.
Social media and relationships is a big kind of, I personally feel like it's a problem, you know. It's kind of, you follow me, you don't follow me, you like me, you don't, block, all of this. Like, I mean, how do you kind of overcome that?
I've heard, so some of my clients might say that, oh, my partner follows all these models and stuff and I don't like it. And then I think it's really important to have that communication with your partner in terms of what is okay and what's not okay on social media. Sometimes, you know, you might comment on your opposite gender friend picture, and then your partner might not be okay with it. So these are the things that we need to talk about. It's not just like, oh, how are we going to do finances? How are we going to parent? but also social media as well. Like, how are we going to navigate that? Also, people sometimes they're like, oh, I want to share passwords. Not sure, like privacy and setting those boundaries as well. It's not that, you know, I'm rejecting you or I don't trust you. It's just that that's my privacy, and you need to trust me. So yeah, social media is another big one. And related to social media, I think a lot of people nowadays, they're also getting married to show
off
online as well. So that's another problem. Marriage is not just to have a wedding. Marriage is more of a commitment, and the real test happens after, when the whole wedding is over.
Yeah, no, it's true. When do you just know, like, it's over? Like, I can't do this anymore?
Every couple is different. It is really based on the non-negotiables. So what am I not willing to tolerate? I've spoken about it, I've communicated my concerns, nothing is changing. It can be very difficult when kids are involved. So if it's at the beginning of marriage, I think it's really important to have those conversations. But for some people, let's say cheating, there's no second chance, right? For other people, it can be finances, like excessive spending. That can be a problem as well. So it really depends on the couple, I would say. But if it's not working and you know it's not working, dragging it on for too long is not going to be helpful. But doing something about it, such as, again, maybe involving families if you want to, or seeking professional support where you can have those concerns communicated to each other in a safe space, that might be helpful.
And you kind of mentioned like cheating. So do you believe cheating is the end all of every relationship, or do you think actually, you know what, you can actually work on it?
First, it's important to know what cheating is considered in a relationship, because again, the definition is quite subjective for each couple. Cheating could be you just liking somebody's picture on social media, or cheating could be where you're texting and you're actually talking to that person. So first, try to define what's the concept of cheating in this relationship. And then for some couples, it's a big no. And then for some, maybe there's a second chance. So again, it depends on the couple. Personally, cheating is a big no, because that's where you are disrespecting me. There's lack of trust in the relationship. And then to build that trust, it's going to be very difficult for the person to be open and to be vulnerable. And sometimes it takes time. But then the other partner has to be consistent with his or her actions to gain that trust back.
From your experience, have you seen couples kind of bounce back from kind of things like cheating and stuff?
I've seen couples where one partner might have cheated, and then we work on it. It does take a lot of time. It's a lot of pain involved as well. But repetitive kind of cheating, I've seen that as well, and marriages usually end. Yeah.
So then what would you say is like the 3 most important tips for a successful marriage?
Respect is huge. I think if you are not respecting your partner, there's no respect, there's name calling and that kind of toxic patterns that you have learned maybe throughout your childhood. And if they are showing up in your marriage, it can definitely have a huge impact. Trust. So allowing yourself to be vulnerable and being able to kind of trust your partner to provide that support and to validate. But sometimes when we have been through a lot of trauma and when our guard is really up, it's really difficult for us to be vulnerable and to be open, because then we think that, oh, maybe this person is also not a safe person to be around. So yeah, trust, respect, and I would say communication. So open communication is important, but with communication, it's also important to validate what your partner's needs are, how they're feeling, because a lot of times, again, we listen, but we're not actively listening. We just wait to kind of respond. So yeah, I think those are the 3 things I would say are really, really important.
Thank you so much for watching, guys, and thank you so much for coming. We loved having you on here. And comment below who you'd like to see next. Bye.